Welcome in. Today, I want to talk about one of those compliance terms that sounds scarier than it really is, POA&M. That stands for Plan of Action and Milestones. And if you're in the CMMC world, especially around NIST, SP 800, 171 controls, this is one of those things that can either make people nervous or, if you understand it right, actually calm you down. Because a POA&M is not a public confession booth. It is not you raising your hand and saying, well, we failed. It's more mature than that. It says, we know where the gaps are, we have a plan, and we're managing the work. That's a very different message. I like to describe it as a professional fix-it list, not the sticky note on your monitor that says update firewall ? I mean a real operational list tied to actual controls, actual due dates, and actual accountability. In this platform, the POA&M tracker lives at POA&M, and it's built to make that process practical instead of painful. Now, why does this matter? Simple. In compliance, pretending a gap does not exist is almost always worse than documenting it clearly. Assessors are not expecting magic. They're expecting evidence of control, honesty, and follow through. If you know a control is weak and you've linked that gap, written down the next steps, and started remediation, that tells a much stronger story than smiling politely and hoping nobody asks. And let's be honest, they're going to ask. That's why I appreciate that this system doesn't treat POA&M items like random notes floating around in space. You can create, edit, and close items, link them to specific controls, add due dates, and track status. Then the summary cards give you the big picture: what's open, what's in progress, what's closed, and what's overdue. That matters because leadership needs the overview, and the people doing the work need the detail. There's also a nice practical flow across the whole platform. During onboarding, Claude Sonnet does a gap analysis against all 110 controls and even creates the first 3 POA&M items automatically. That's helpful, especially for teams staring at the mountain and wondering where to put the first shovel in the dirt. The AI advisor also works from real compliance data, so the action plan you see is grounded in your actual status, not generic internet advice dressed up in a blazer. And that's really the heart of this. A POA&M is evidence of management discipline. It shows you're not drifting. You've identified a gap in access control or incident response or system and information integrity, and instead of hand waving, you've put structure around fixing it. I've seen organizations feel embarrassed by their gap list. Don't. Every serious program has one. The question is never, are you perfect? The question is, do you understand your environment well enough to know what still needs work? That's maturity. That's leadership. Honestly, that's how real improvement happens. So, if the phrase plan of action and milestones has sounded intimidating, maybe swap the mental picture. Think less doom document, more roadmap, less scarlet letter, more project management with a security badge on. Where was I going with that? Oh, right. Documenting known gaps is stronger than pretending they aren't there every single time. So let's make this concrete. What does a strong POA&M item actually look like? In plain English, it needs 4 things: the gap, the remediation plan, the responsible person, and the deadline. If one of those is missing, the item starts getting fuzzy, and fuzzy is the enemy of progress. First, the gap. Be specific, not security needs work. That's not a gap, that's a cry for help. Instead, tie it to the actual control and describe what's missing. Maybe evidence has not been uploaded for a control. Maybe a required policy hasn't been approved in documents. Maybe the scanner found partial coverage in an uploaded procedure, but not enough to support the control fully. Good POA&M items name the issue clearly. Second, the remediation plan. What are you going to do? Update the policy, configure the system, collect the missing proof in the evidence locker, run the document through the scanner, and map it to the right control. The plan should sound like work someone can actually perform, not vague intentions like improve cyber. I mean, sure, let's improve cyber right after lunch. Third, assign responsibility, one person. Maybe a team helps, that's normal, but one person needs to own the next step. Otherwise, everybody assumes somebody else has it, and then 6 weeks go by and the POA&M item ages like milk. Fourth, put a date on it. Milestones need time. A due date creates urgency and helps your team prioritize. In the tracker, that date also powers status visibility, which means you can see what's moving and what's slipping. Now, the statuses are straightforward, and that's a good thing. Open means the gap has been identified, but work hasn't really started yet. In progress means remediation is underway. Closed means the issue has been resolved, and ideally, the supporting evidence is there to back it up. Overdue means the deadline passed and the item still isn't done. Overdue is not the end of the world, by the way. It's a signal. It tells you to re-engage, adjust the plan, maybe assign more resources, maybe break the work into smaller pieces. Better to see overdue honestly than to leave something stuck in progress forever like a project from 2019 that everyone politely avoids mentioning. So here's the practical action plan I'd recommend. First, review your open items. Just look at the list and ask, what are the real gaps right now? Second, define the fix in plain language. What exactly has to happen for this item to move forward? Third, assign the task to a responsible person and put a realistic date on it. Fourth, update progress as the work happens until the gap is closed. That last part matters. A POA&M only helps if it stays alive. And if you're using the rest of the platform well, this gets easier. Controls tell you what the control means, what you need to do, and what proof you need. Evidence. Locker helps you attach that proof. Documents helps generate policies and system security documentation using your real control data. The AI tools can explain a control or suggest the next action. The POA&M tracker is where all that unfinished work gets managed with discipline. That's the goal, not panic, not perfection, just steady closure of real gaps. Review, define, assign, date, update, close, simple rhythm. And if you build that habit, compliance starts feeling a whole lot less like chaos and a lot more like operations. We'll keep unpacking pieces of that in future episodes.